It's been over a year since I made my last manga collection video, and since that time my collection has grown immensely and a lot of stuff has changed. I've gotten rid of some manga just because I've been giving them to my friends because I didn't want them anymore, or I've sold some because I don't want them anymore, but that's besides the point. An updated manga collection video has been due for a while and it's finally here, so with that being said, let's not waste any more time and get right on into it. Alrighty, we're here. Different perspective. You guys can see at least these bottom two shelves of my manga. I'm going to be going through and grabbing each series individually. Some series there'll just be one volume of and I'll just talk about it real quickly and then we'll move on. Some there will be a lot of volumes of. And without any further ado, let's just jump right into it. We're starting off with the first volume of my collection in alphabetical order. We have Assassination Classroom. Assassination Classroom is a really nice and easy series to go through. I first got into this series by watching it, and I remember at the time, I wasn't doing too hot in school at all. Like, my grades were just kind of sitting down and watching this show and seeing this entire class of just rejected students get that second chance that, you know, everybody deserves was the final push that I needed to do better in my own schooling. You know, so I greatly appreciate Assassination Classroom for that. Another thing about this series is that regardless of whichever volume you have, it could be 1, 15, 20, is that this face is somewhere, shape, and form in the volume cover. Whether it's a different expression, whether it's the background of the landscape, so on and so forth. This face is somewhere there, and I love that. I love it when manga volumes have like a similar theme to all of them. There's actually a series that we're going to be going over in just a little bit where it has a very similar theme or pattern to the volume covers, and we'll get to it when we get to it. Yeah, Assassination Classroom would definitely recommend, and on to the next one. Alrighty, so this series right here that you're seeing is all of Black Clover. I'm pretty sure this is everything that is currently out for the English release. I have up to volume 32. I don't know how I got these mixed matched, and I don't know how 27, 28, 29 are higher than 30. Look, I don't know what I just did with that, but regardless, it doesn't matter. I am a huge fan of Black Clover. I have been keeping up with the series since practically the beginning. I started with the anime and then slowly but surely started grabbing the volumes, reading through each of them, seeing the art style progress, looking at all the extra stuff that you don't get by watching the anime, like the character profile sheets, the Q&A sessions where the author actually goes in and answers some questions that fans might be asking due to, you know, like some unexplained stuff that happened to us in the series. That's staying in the video. Moving on back to what I was saying, my favorite things are how you get to see the character profiles, learn a little bit more about them, and the Q&A session where the fans get to ask the author about certain things and, you know, they answer it and maybe fill in some plot points that were missed on while going through the original story in the first place. That is something that I love very much so, and my favorite volume easily has to be this one. The thing that I love so much about this volume is the shading / coloring and the line art. To explain, the line art up at the top of the manga cover, it's very thin because it doesn't really matter as much, right? But as you make your way down, you can see that their faces have a lot thicker line art than in comparison to a lot of other things in this illustration. But then the lower you go, you can see the hand and how thick the line art is. Tabata does a really good job at playing with the perspective of this one on this cover. I'm looking at it right here. There are amazing, a whole slew of other volume covers that are just absolutely beautiful. Some of my other favorite ones being volumes 32, 15, 1, obviously, like it's the classic, it's the first one, 23, and just so many other ones, but I could be here sitting all day listing off ones. Oh wait, hold on, wait, which one? Where the hell is it? Do I not have it? Oh, volume 30. Volume 30 is fucking amazing. I love volume 30 so much. But oh yeah, that's Black Clover. Alrighty, up next we have these two, and these are technically two different series, but I'm going to be talking about them in the same order just because they're done by the exact same author. The first one we got right here is Bleach. Obviously this is a classic, and then we have the first and only volume of Burn the Witch. Something that I love about these two volumes is that I love looking at them back to back, because as we can see, Bleach is the early beginnings of Kubo's mangaka career. And we can see the art style difference, and it's so drastic, because if we look at the first one here, you can see it's very sharp and like gritty in every way, shape, and form, right? Even to like the coloring. But then if we take a look at the most recent volume that he has put out, we can see a drastic change in art style, shading, line art, everything about it just screams different. And I love looking at the two, comparing them, and just being like, wow, that is such a nice like evolution of art. But I have another way to look at it, because I have right here the entire third Bleach box set. You know what? Hold on. What am I doing? I'm not about to hold this up on my leg. There we go. It comes with volumes 49 through 74, and if we just go in and open her up real quick, we get this beautiful giant illustration of the main character, Ichigo Kurosaki, and as I said, volumes 49 through 74. Almost misspoke there. And then we have a little mini poster for the 1000-Year Blood War arc, double-sided, very, very nice. And then we have a little art book that contains a bunch of illustrations, color spreads, chapter covers that I think take place throughout everything we see here. Don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. I could just simply, you know what? Okay, so it starts from volume 55 and onward. And as for my favorite volume that I have here, it's probably gonna be volume 51 of Bleach. I love this character. I think she is super, super cute. I just love how Kubo decided to go about shading all of the volumes within this current arc with like the heavy black shading and then the white for the shine on the characters. As you can see here, there's a lot of it in the hair, and then just over on the clothes is a lot of the black. I think it looks very, very nice. Kubo knows exactly what he's doing when he's making art. But no, yeah, that wraps up all the Bleach stuff. Chainsaw Man. I feel like I don't even have to say anything about this series anymore. So many people on the internet have gone and spoken about Chainsaw Man, praising it for its amazing characters, writing, emotional moments, traumatic moments, and just the subversion that it just displays upon the reader. I've been a fan of Chainsaw Man since before the first volume even hit American shelves. And let me tell you, it has been an absolute pleasure going through this series. And another cool thing, real quickly, this is nothing about the franchise itself, this is just something that I have gone ahead and done, is that for volumes 1, 3, and 4, I have gotten the respective signatures of the characters' voice actors that are on said covers. That was Denji and Powers, and last but not least we have Aki's. This was a very nice meeting. I met them at Florida SuperCon just this year. I had such a great time. Me and my buddies went. My favorite volume cover, however, easily my favorite one, and I don't even know if I'm allowed to show this on YouTube just because it's a little, well, you know, Chainsaw Man, but it has to be volume 6. Volume 6 not only has like one of my favorite characters on the cover, I love this bitch so goddamn much, but I love everything about this cover. I love the colors. Tatsuki Fujimoto, when he's like regularly drawing Chainsaw Man, at least for part 1, you can tell that it's very kind of chicken scratch like. It's very raw. That's the best way I like to describe it. It's very raw. But when he needs to come and sit down and make a beautifully illustrated piece with full colors and everything, the man will sit down and make a goddamn masterpiece. And that is really shown, in my opinion, with volume 6. I love it. I love it. I love it. I cannot wait for season 2 to come out, because it's literally going to kickstart right off with my favorite arc in all of Chainsaw Man. And I actually just ended up getting the first volume of part 2 of Chainsaw Man, and let me tell you, I'm still loving it so much. If you've been questioning if you should get into Chainsaw Man, here's one person's recommendation. Yes, do it, goddammit. With that being said, move on to the next series. Alrighty, the next series we have here is a little cute 3-volume series called the Cube Arts. I only have the first 2 volumes. You can never find the third one anywhere. If you somehow have the third one, congratulations, you found something rare in my eyes. But Cube Arts basically just kind of imagine the premise of Sword Art Online where, you know, you die in the game, you die in real life, and replace the game with Minecraft. That's basically what you're getting with Cube Arts. I remember I heard about this like on TikTok or something like that, maybe like a YouTube short, depends on when it was. But I just remember it's like, what if you got stuck in Minecraft? And basically they're like, oh, that's what Cube Arts is. And I remember I went and I picked it up, and I enjoyed it. It's something crazy or like, you know, groundbreaking in terms of like writing or characters or anything of the sort, but it was very nice and I genuinely really enjoyed it. I'm actually really interested to see what the mangaka creates next, and if I had to pick my favorite out of the three, because I have seen the third one but I don't have it, it's definitely is going to be the second volume right here. I just love how nicely it shows off the world in the background along with the characters just being themselves. Super cute, especially the girl in the little minecart. Love that, love that. But yeah, not much else to say about Cube Arts. Very easy series. If you want something nice and easy to read, go ahead and pick up Cube Arts.
I wanna break free, I wanna fly high, I wanna reach up to the sky.
On to the last series that is on the top shelf, we have Eden Zero. This is Hiro Mashima's newest work and the one that he is currently still working on. I've been following Eden Zero since literally chapter 1. I remember when the news came out, oh, Hiro Mashima is making a brand new series. For those of you who don't know, Hiro Mashima is the creator of Fairy Tail, and you'll understand soon my relation with that one. But I remember just reading about it, you know, hearing like, oh my god, the new thing. And then I remember looking everywhere for when the chapter dropped. I found it, I read it, and from that point on, I've been hooked on it ever since, and I've had such a great time reading through Eden Zero. I've collected all the volumes as they've come out, except for the most recent 2 or 1. I know I'm at least a volume behind. I know that volume 24 is out. I don't know if volume 25 is out. I have to go in and get that eventually. But as for my favorite volume cover, this is another case where there are just a lot of good ones. But I think my favorite one is okay, you know what? It's between 2 of them. It's between volume 12 and volume 13. I really can't decide. There's something that I love about both of these. In terms for volume 12, I just loved this arc so much as I was reading it. I genuinely was like so excited week by week by week, reading all these chapters come out and seeing this volume with this illustration on it. I think this was the first time we ever got this transformation colored, and I was like, oh, that's what it looks like. That's so sick. No, I lied. Okay, I'm a liar. But it's so nice to see it in full color. And I just love the gray around everything. And just, oh, it works so nice. But 13 is just so, oh, it's so pretty. It's so damn pretty. It has all of the main characters, or at least in that point in time in the story. And it's just, it's just so pretty. I don't know. It's either one of them. You could flip a coin and it'll be, depends on the day. But yeah, that is Eden Zero. And now on to shelf 2.
I'll shine it down and make tomorrow bright.
Alrighty, let's talk about this controversial series. Fairy Tail is a very popular shonen manga series that went on for about 11 years, and it's my favorite series of all time. I shit you not when I say that. I've been with Fairy Tail for a very, very long time, since like my middle school years, and I've met a lot of amazing people and have had so many bad moments in my life that Fairy Tail has just made so much better. It's always been there for me. I've learned so many valuable lessons about people, friendships, relationships, life, just through watching and reading Fairy Tail, to the point where I even got the emblem tattooed on my wrist. This is my guild mark, and I will not have any shame in it at all. And as for my favorite volume of Fairy Tail, it's no competition. It's easily this one right here, volume 30 of Fairy Tail. As you can see here, the full image. I love everything about this cover. The colors look so damn nice. The blue and the blacks, they work so well going off of each other. And I just love overall that the whole volume cover takes up the entire damn page. You know, Hiro Mashima doesn't really do that often, like at all, with a lot of his manga volumes. I think he does it for Rave Master a little bit, which we will get to eventually. But for this, in Fairy Tail's case, I think this is the only volume cover that ever did something like this. And I'm just very, very appreciative of Hiro Mashima and the art. With that being said, let's get on to the next series. This series is very, very interesting. This is none other than Ghost Reaper Girl. I don't blame you if you've never heard of it. It's still a relatively smaller series, not only in popularity, But in terms of volume count, I think there's only like 35 chapters and only 4 volumes here, as you can see. I have all of them right here. But funny thing about this series, and I don't know if you caught it just by me holding it or just how they're displayed right here, but these volumes are actually backwards. If I grab just literally anything right here, let me just grab Fairy Tail real quickly. You can see that if I put them against each other, spine to spine, that they perfectly face off against each other. But if I hold them like this, you can see, whoop, one of them opens this way and another one opens up this way. This is something very interesting that I haven't seen a lot of manga do. I have seen it before, but I've never seen it done intentionally. And that's something that I know that this series creator ended up doing when he was making the series, while he's making the series, I should say that. Even when you read it online on Viz's official website, he has stated that I want this series to be read in the backwards way in terms of regular manga and how you would go about reading that. But as for my favorite cover, let me just go ahead and put this back there. My favorite cover is easily the second volume of Ghost Reaper Girl. Everything about this cover just screams beauty. Mwah! I love all the colors. I love the blue. It's a very blue cover, as you can tell just by looking at it right over there. This is definitely a artist. I'm not even going to call him a mangaka. I'm just going to say an artist. Akisa Saiki is an artist that just knows how to work with the brushes, pens, and everything that they have at their disposal to create such art that I see here. Do I sound like a simp at this point? I think I sound like a simp. I hope so, because I love this damn artist. Because this is not the only series that this author has made. They have made another series that has had, funnily enough, a big impact, not on my development as a person or anything, but just a big impact on my taste in anime and manga and stuff like that. And we'll get to that eventually, because it is somewhere among these volumes you can see here. But no, yeah. Akisa Saiki, Ghost Reaper Girl, go and check it out. Alrighty, this next one right here is called Goldfish. Now, honestly, I can't really tell you a lot about this series considering that I have not read it yet, but that's besides the point. All I know about this series is that whatever this kid touches on the cover, it turned to gold, I think. So it's like the touch of Midas kind of thing, you know what I mean? But the reason why I went and bought this volume is because when I was in the store with my cousin and I opened it up just to see, you know, what I can be expecting, I opened up to this page right here and I was just absolutely mesmerized and just taken in by the use of colors, line art, everything in this image just absolutely captured my imagination. And I just sat there and was like, I don't even care if this is good or bad. I am purchasing this because this is art, motherfucker. I will read it one day. Maybe I'll get back to you on it whenever the next manga video, collection video is. No promises as for when that's going to be. But no, yeah. Goldfish. Up next, I'm going to cover these two in the same section just because they're by the same creator. It's once again Hiro Mashima. They are two separate stories, so let's just go over this one first. Put you right there. This is Hiro Mashima's Heroes. This is a 10-chapter solo volume that takes his 3 main works, that being Rave Master, Fairy Tail, and Eden Zero, puts all the main characters in one giant island, and they all have to deal with a main big bad. If you're a fan of the series that Hiro Mashima has created, I like the 3 that I just named, I highly, highly, highly recommend reading this. This is such a nicely made, fan service full, not the sexy kind, fan service full manga for fans of Hiro Mashima. And it's just so nice seeing all of these characters in which they would never interact with each other, actually interact with each other. It's so funny to see all the characters. And not to mention the back of it. The back of the volume has such a nice and pretty display of all of the main characters you're going to see here from, like I said, Rave Master, Fairy Tail, and Eden Zero. Yeah, genuinely very nice. Would recommend. Quick, easy 10 chapters, very Hiro Mashima-like. Up next is another Hiro Mashima produced product. It is called Hiro Mashima's Playground. This is basically just a collection of a bunch of his one-shots that he's made. either before Fairy Tail, during Fairy Tail, a bunch of like stuff like that. And my favorite one easily is Bad Boys Song. I loved reading through this one. I highly recommend Bad Boys Song. And even if that's not your thing, there are other things in here for people to look at. Like, for example, there is a one-shot in here called Fairy Tail, spelled with L-E instead of I-L. Regardless, you get the point. And it's very different from the actual Fairy Tail that we all know and love today. So it's genuinely very interesting to see where Mashima's mind was at before he creates a lot of his other works. Not only that, but it has a lot of just stories of Hiro Mashima's childhood and him growing up and the kind of person that he was and how he kind of got to where he is now in the terms of manga and being a mangaka and all that good stuff. So yeah, for you Hiro Mashima haters, bear with me. You can skip the parts, I'm sure. Or maybe, I don't know if I'll put these all in chapters, but we'll see. Up next, we have my only volume of Horimiya. It was right place, right time. I just wanted to check out a brand new series. And I remember hearing about Horimiya and a YouTuber that I actually used to watch when I was younger, Alejandro Saab. He actually voices the main character, Miyamura, in the English dub, and I've never felt so easy and relaxed while getting into a brand new slice of life / romance series like Horimiya. I didn't feel like everything was immediately blown right into my face. It really held my hand and took my time and was like, hey, it's all right, we're not gonna rush you into this. And I genuinely really appreciated that. So yeah, Horimiya, genuinely would recommend, even as an anime. And I'm very much so looking forward to watching the Horimiya Pieces anime, I think it's called. Very excited to watch it. Alrighty, up next is more of a rarer series, at least for American prints. This is Gintama. Now, for those of you who don't know the side of America printing manga stuff, Gintama is not a series that is still currently being published. When this was coming out, they released, I think they made it up to like the 20s in terms of like how many volumes were out. I'm not 100% sure, so don't fact check me on that. Well, actually, no. If you do know, comment down below, because that's a genuinely very interesting thing. So this is a more rare manga to see in anybody's collection, because like I said, they stopped printing these after, however many time, and they haven't re-released or done anything for Gintama. So these are all like super old volumes, and you can really tell because a bunch of like super old Shonen Jump manga that got English releases like Hikari no Go, B, Slam Dunk, or even just older volumes of manga that are more popular nowadays still, even like Bleach, One Piece, or Naruto. If you look at the volumes, you can see like this sort of like this little print down here. Nowadays, a lot of Shonen Jump or Viz licensed manga, they don't have this. It's kind of just like somewhere else. Like, for example, the Black Clover ones that we showed you earlier, they don't have this kind of thing right here. The number of the volume is somewhere else just on it. And I think for my favorite volume of Gintama, I think it is going to end up being this volume. I have not read this yet, although I am very much so looking forward to. And shout out to my friend who sold me these volumes, actually. They were getting rid of some space and they just needed somebody to take these off their hands, and I gladly obliged because I understood how rare they were. So if you're watching this, shout out to you. You're a real one. Alrighty, up next is my only and first volume of Hunter x Hunter. There's not really a lot to say with Hunter x Hunter that, like with Chainsaw Man, hasn't already been said before. Hunter x Hunter is claimed to be one of the best shonen series of all time. And I'm not going to argue with those people because we're all entitled to our own opinions. Personally, I think it's a little bit overrated. Don't get me wrong, I still love it. There are some really great moments. Greed Island and obviously the Chimera Ant arc are some of my favorite arcs in all of Hunter x Hunter. I think one day I want to sit down and reread Hunter x Hunter. I don't know when that day is, but I do know that I want to do that. So something really cool about this volume of Hunter x Hunter is that inside of it, there are little illustrations of just like quick sketches of the characters that are, that are shown in this volume and stuff like that. But one character that shows up in this is actually Sailor Moon. And you may be wondering, well, why the hell is Sailor Moon appearing in Hunter x Hunter? Is the author a fan? I think it's safe to say that the author is a fan, considering that the author of Hunter x Hunter, Yoshihiro Togashi, is actually married to the author of Sailor Moon. It's really cute, really wholesome, and on the topic of Sailor Moon, I wouldn't mind collecting that series, but that's for another time. Alrighty, up next we got Jujutsu Kaisen Volume 0. I used to actually have volumes 1 and 2 of Jujutsu Kaisen, but I ended up giving them to my friend just because I didn't want them anymore. And I was trying to get rid of some, so I was like, hey, would you by chance want this? And they were like, yeah, sure, why not? And I ended up keeping volume 0 because I think it's really cool that there is even something considered a volume 0 in manga, because I haven't seen personally any other situation where there's been a volume 0 for anything. But I remember when the movie came out, me and my cousin, we woke up like early at like, I say early, like 10 or something, and we went and watched the movie in theaters. And that was an amazing movie, by the way. Yuta is still my favorite character in Jujutsu Kaisen, even with stuff going on in season 2 right now. But yeah, not much else to say. I really enjoyed Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I've read through it a couple of times just to make sure I got all my facts right. And yeah, I still keep finding new stuff every time I go into it. So, good job, Giga Yakutami. Alrighty, this is My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Now, if you're a fan of My Hero Academia, or at least have heard of it, you might not know of this. This is a little side story. I'm not 100% sure if it's canon or not. If it is canon, somebody write down in the comments below if it is, because I am a huge fan of Vigilantes. Sometimes I'm a bigger fan of Vigilantes than I am regular My Hero Academia, because I didn't realize how nice it would be to see My Hero Academia written in almost like a slice of life genre switch, which at first maybe like, what the hell are you talking about? You think that's good? Yes, it is very good. The main character, Kokichi, just kind of goes around doing little vigilante stuff, just dealing with like the assholes that are around like small neighborhoods and stuff like that. Nothing crazy, but eventually as time goes on, he starts meeting more people and then starts doing more vigilante work, improving his quirk. And then, as stuff goes on, things evolve and the story gets kind of crazy. But I genuinely really do recommend My Hero Academia Vigilantes if you are a fan of My Hero Academia and just want more. Whether you're caught up with the manga and waiting for more chapters, or an anime only and waiting for the next season, this is definitely something you could read in your pastime and just, it'll satisfy that My Hero Academia need. As for my favorite volume, my favorite volume cover, I should say, it's definitely gonna be this volume right here, volume 9 of Vigilante. This is one of the traumatic volumes, right? You know those volumes that just have like all the trauma dumping stuff like that? Yeah, that's this volume right here. And I remember after I finished reading this volume and, closed it, looked at the cover again, I was just like, you sick bastard. I cannot believe you just did that. Regardless, this is a very pretty cover. I love the colors of the top half, especially, even though it's kind of covered up by the title. Regardless, very good series. I really hope one day they turn this into an anime. I think it would do very good if it turned into an anime. But no, yeah, that's My Hero Academia Vigilantes. Alrighty, we got the next Hero Mashima series up on this list. We have Monster Soul. This is a quick and easy 2-volume read. I only have the first one, so I haven't read through the second one. But I think this was being made during the time he started working on Fairy Tail, because the art style is very similar to early Fairy Tail. If you look at the first volume of Fairy Tail and then look at the first volume of Monster Soul, hell, even the second one, they look very similar to each other. I'm not 100% sure on when the release date was for all this stuff, but yeah, not really much to say, just a world of monsters and these characters living together as monsters, just going about day-to-day life. That's probably a really bad description of what this is about. If you want more Hero Mashima, go ahead and pick it up. Not a bad read. Now, let me tell you, I am a huge Naruto fan, and the fact that I only have 2 volumes is a little bit criminal, but you know what? I'm satisfied with it. So, first and foremost, let me tell you why I only have 2 volumes. This is kind of something that I try to do with a lot of series, honestly. If I only have 1 volume of a series, I most likely really enjoyed either watching or going through that series for the first time, and I just wanted something of it, you know what I mean? I don't really like figures or pins or anything like that. I have nothing against them. I think they're really cute and really awesome, honestly. I've seen a lot of people use pins and stickers and all that kind of stuff in very cute and nice ways. I'm just not that creative to use them like that. So I just go ahead and get the manga. And I normally only get volume 1 unless if I have a favorite volume cover. And my favorite volume cover for all of Naruto is, without a doubt, volume 42. This volume has some of my favorite moments in all of Naruto in it. It's like a big, like, I gotta take like a breather whenever I'm talking about this one. This is, it takes part in one of my favorite places in the Naruto story. I love the art on here. This is easily one of Kishimoto's most beautiful illustrations that he's ever done before, at least I think so. And it's the same thing with the Fairy Tail Volume 30. It takes up the whole cover. And I love that a lot. I really do. It's just, I could look at this for days, honestly. This is my favorite volume. But I'll spare you the giant sappiness over all this stuff. But no, yeah, shout out to Kishimoto. You know how to draw art.
Come aboard and bring along all your hopes and dreams. Together we will find everything that we're looking for. One Piece.
Alrighty, so One Piece. What can I say about One Piece? First and foremost, let me start with how I got started with One Piece. And that is with this very volume right here. I got started with One Piece by reading it. I read through this one, and then this one, and then after this one, I was like, oh my god, I want more, I need more. I didn't want to wait to go and grab the next 3 in 1. I also didn't know if it would be easily findable. I like to go out and purchase my manga in physical. I don't really like to order them off of websites or Amazon, just because, you know, if I can go out and get it, I can get it right then and now. But I remember I started the anime after the 6th volume, and it was around somewhere like around the Baratie. I think it was like the start of it, right? And I just continued watching the anime from that point onward until I got caught up to Wano. It had just started. Luffy had just re-met with Zoro in Wano, and then that was like the last episode, and then I started reading the manga, and so I decided that since I got caught up to One Piece with the Wano arc, I'm going to collect every arc of, or every arc, I'm going to collect every volume that Wano would take up, and that is exactly what I have done. And as for my favorite volume cover of One Piece, okay, spoiler warning for One Piece, massive spoiler warning. So if you don't want to get spoiled, or if you're not caught up with the anime or the manga, then go to this timestamp, whichever you see here, and just, we'll move on to the next series. But if you've been warned, so beware. My favorite volume cover is easily volume 103 of One Piece. If you know what this is, then you know what this is. I don't have to explain why this is such a good, not just a good volume in general, but just such a beautiful volume cover. I love everything about him. Just jumping over the moon. The Kaido looks amazing in this as well. Kid and Law to the left and right. Oh, it's perfect. It's so nicely organized. It just looks so good. I love it. I love it so much. This is Pokemon Adventures. This is everything from the red, blue, and yellow story arc all the way to the Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum story arcs. I've been reading this series for I think about as long as I've been reading One Piece, and I have been collecting it for about the same amount of time. I normally like to go with the box sets because you don't really just see these volumes anywhere in stores now. I only am able to find them through the box sets, and I'm very fortunate to have found the ones that I have. I am, however, missing 2 volumes. I'm missing volume 23 and 29. These are all as well separated in terms of the story arc, so red, blue, yellow, gold, silver, crystal, ruby, sapphire, emerald. This is also fire red and leaf green, and then diamond, pearl, and platinum. That's what all of these are. If you're a fan of Pokemon and have never heard of Pokemon Adventures and I'm wondering what is it in the first place, well, let me tell you, it's not the anime written in manga format. That's probably the easiest answer you could have gotten. There are other mangas that do that, and there are definitely some mangas that do that in a very inappropriate manner. But that's besides the point. That's not what this is. This takes the story of the video games and just kind of cranks it up to 10 if the knob was previously set to like 3 or 5, right? It adds new plot points and different themes. We also follow a bunch of characters that we see from the games, like red, blue, and green, and so on and so forth, with the gym leaders, even side characters in the Elite Four. They all get delved into a lot more than they regularly would in any of the games. It really does flip your subversion sometimes because, for example, in the Ruby and Sapphire story, the characters Ruby and Sapphire, they kind of switch the roles, or at least what the expected roles would be. Ruby loves to do the contests. Sapphire is the wild child and loves battling. And there's a good reason for their personalities and why they are like that. which was honestly a very nice and good surprise when I eventually got to it. Very nice plot twist. I genuinely really did enjoy that. But as for my favorite volume of Pokemon Adventures, I think it's gonna have to be this volume right here, volume 14. It has all of the main characters that we've met up until this point, all flying with the help of their respective Pokemon. This was also the wrapping up of the Gold and Silver story arc, and I just, oh my god, I loved it so much. But no, yeah, I think I've said enough about Pokemon Adventures. So yeah, go check it out. My buddy who knows nothing about manga, he was like, hey, what do you want for your birthday? Just be straight up, what do you want? And I was like, maybe this volume of this respective series. And he was like, awesome, cool. I'll see what I can do. And he went ahead, he did get me some of those volumes that I had asked, but he also threw this one in on the mix. And if you know what this is, then you know what this is. And if you don't know what this is, I'm not gonna go through and explain what it is. If you want to look it up what it is, I recommend you are 18 plus, because it is that kind of manga. It is a boys love, which obviously I have no issue with. That being said, staying right up there. As for this next series, this one is absolutely on my radar. This is Rave Master. After I had been done with Fairy Tail and Eden Zero was coming out, I decided that I was gonna go back and read his first ever series. Obviously that being Rave Master. And let me tell you, it was quite the treat to see where he started, not only in terms of writing, characters, but primarily art, because if you take a look at the first volume of Rave Master and take a look at the last one, that is a drastic improvement in terms of art style and just quality overall. And it was an absolute treat reading that through that series. And if I had to pick my favorite one, which I have here, I will make that distinction, it's easily gotta be the last volume right here, volume 35. This is actually a giant 3-in-1 that I got for Christmas. But I just love everything about this cover. It has all of the big main characters on it, big and small, and it's just such a cute volume cover. And it has on the main character, Haru, his shirt, it says "The End, Thank You," which I think is very, very sweet. But if I had to pick my favorite volume throughout the entire series, or at least the one that I think looks the prettiest, it has to be volume 24. At least I think it's 24. I'll put up an image here of it right now. But there's a nice pink hue over all of this, and I just love how it looks. It works very well with Julia, the female character with the long blonde hair, who's like, it's all flowing and everything like that. Love her, love that volume cover, and yeah, we are done with the Hiro Mashima stuff for all the Mashima haters out there. So you can stop wiping your brow waiting for the next one, because we're done. Alright, this next series is actually one that I had mentioned previously while talking about another series over here. Remember when I said the author of Ghost River Girl had made a manga series before? Yeah, that's this series. We're taking a look at Rosario Vampire. But Rosario Vampire is a very infamous series, at least I'd say for the anime, because it is a steaming pile of just hot garbage. It did a horrible job at properly adapting this story, but for some weird reason, I cannot not love it. It's my favorite piece of hot garbage, and I acknowledge it. I ended up watching the anime when I started getting into anime, which was around like early middle school, which is not the time you should be watching this anime, trust me. But I remember one day I was like, I wonder how the manga was for this series, only to find out that the anime barely adapted anything from the manga, and to find out that the manga is not the fan service written series that the anime makes it out to be. So I sat down in I think it was my junior year of high school, and read through all of Rosario Vampire, and let me tell you, that was an absolute treat. I cried at the ending. I'm not even gonna lie. I cried. It was a good series. But as for my favorite volume cover, it's either gotta be the last volume for season 1, or it's either gonna be this volume right here, volume 14 of season 2. Regardless, it's either volume 10, like I said, or volume 14. With that being said, moving on. Up next, we have a little series that technically isn't a manga, but is formatted and published and treated like one. So I'm gonna treat it as one, and that is Scott Pilgrim. Scott Pilgrim series is one of my favorites. I remember watching the movie for the first time very vividly. It just captured my attention and did everything right, in my opinion. And I'm so unbelievably excited for the anime. I've seen all the trailers. It looks amazing and it does a perfect job at adapting the style. I cannot wait for it. And little tidbit here, if you're excited for it as well, please be sure to go ahead and subscribe to the channel, because me and my buddy Hawk Cow Daddy, aka Jake, we're going to be sitting down and watching through the entire series. We're going to be posting our reactions to it here on this YouTube channel, just like how we did with the live action One Piece. My favorite volume for Scott Pilgrim is definitely this one right here, the last one. It looks like it could be a movie poster, and honestly, I really appreciate that. But yeah, Scott Pilgrim, very nice series. Give it a watch. On to the last manga here on this third shelf, we have The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Volume 1. I originally planned to take in the story of Twilight Princess through the manga, but then awkwardly realized that I wouldn't be able to do that because they're not all that easily bindable. Even online, if I was going to read them illegally, which by the way, if this entire video doesn't scream it already, support the official release, please. I wasn't able to read all of the volumes for Twilight Princess because, like I said, I couldn't find them anywhere to properly read on time. I wanted to read them all before Tears of the Kingdom, and I was really quickly running out of time. So I ended up just kind of binge playing the game, and let me tell you, that was quite the rushed experience. I loved it though, don't get me wrong. I had a great time playing it, but that was, whoo-wee. You ever feel like walking on a tightrope before? Because goddamn, what that was that. One thing I will say about this manga though, is that I don't think I've ever read a manga that I was able to go through so easily. I think I literally read this within like 15 minutes flat. The art was so beautiful and I loved it, and I genuinely do want to read the rest of it. Maybe one day I'll have the full collection on the shelf, but that is until then, one day. The first one we're going to be taking a look at is Astro Boy. I saw this in the stores and I was like, holy shit, is that Osamu Tezuka's Astro Boy? Needless to say, I did not expect to find this because Osamu Tezuka, God bless his soul, is the goddamn grandfather of manga. This man put out manga like it, well, I guess it was his day job, but this man put out manga like no other has before. Also, not to mention, this thing is incredibly thick. This is like goddamn Stephen King's It, and no, I have not read this yet. I want to, and I will one day, but that day has not come yet. Up next, we actually have two really cool volumes in my collection because we have two Japanese volumes, the only two in my collection. We have Stone Ocean Volume 1 and Steel Ball Run Volume 1. When the fifth part of the anime finished, I was like, okay, I want more JoJo. So I immediately went to reading part 6 and part 7 and part 8, just everything that had come afterwards. And I had fallen in love with reading Araki's work in a manga format. I didn't realize how well and how nicely Araki is able to work with the pages that he draws on, especially with part 7. Part 7 is by far my favorite part in all of JoJo's. I am currently caught up with part 9. I haven't read the most recent chapters. I think I've only read like maybe like 4 or 3 of them, but there's not a lot out. There's only like 9, I think, so I'm not that far behind to begin with. Up next, we have a little series that started out as an anime and has continuously gotten more and more adaptations of the anime, continuing on with different stories. That is none other than Furikuri. Furikuri is the best fever dream I think I've ever experienced. And when I saw that they had turned it into a manga, I was like, pause. Actually, okay, take my money. This is honestly, I feel like just as experimental as the initial series is itself, because if you take a look here at the art of it, it's so drastically different from any manga that I've seen before, and it's very different from the anime itself. Not to mention, if I just turn it around and show you here, this in and of itself is very different, and I almost have a hard time telling who some of these characters are. I know who this one is right here, but I don't know who that is up top there. I have an idea, but I'm not 100% sure. Opening it up and taking a look at some of the art in here as well, it's just such a different art style, and this was genuinely so cool to go through and to find. Look, if you want a really quick, easy watch through, I'm gonna recommend the anime more than I am gonna recommend this. Furikuri, or at least the first part of it, is only 6 episodes long. Amazing soundtrack. The pillows, immaculate, baby. Up next, these two aren't actually manga. They're just sort of data books on manga that I enjoy, that being My Hero Academia and Naruto. I think my favorite part of this one is the interview that Horikoshi does with the author of Bleach, Tite Kubo. That was very interesting seeing those two authors together, because those two are very different human beings. We have this controversial piece of literature. We have Beastars. Now, I remember when Beastars was first coming out on Netflix, everybody was like, what is this? This is weird. And I definitely had that initial reaction as well. But at the same time, I was so unbelievably interested in what this series had to offer, because I've heard from people on the internet as well that this is a genuinely amazing series, at least from the first season, right? And so soon after the anime had come out, me and my friends, we actually went to go see Weathering with You in theaters, but the night I got home from that theater, it must have just been food poisoning, because I was sick like I had never been sick before. And the whole next day, I was just bedridden. I felt horrible. And so the only thing I decided to do was just lay down and watch all of the first season of Beastars. And let me tell you, I was hooked on this shit. I was so very much eagerly awaiting season 2. And when season 2 dropped, I was immediately like, not wasting any time, but got to watching it. And I am so excited for the third and final season of Beastars. If you are skeptic or nervous about even starting Beastars because of the anthropomorphic animals, I promise you, just give it a chance. It is a little awkward in the beginning, but I promise you it has some of the most interesting writing with not only plot, but characters and the world itself. Look, you can't tell a story. You can't tell the story of Beastars without the world that it's in. They just go hand in hand. Well, that being said, on to the next series, and oh boy, this is an interesting one. Up next, we have Fire Punch. Now, for those of you who don't know what Fire Punch is Tatsuki Fujimoto's manga that he was working on before Chainsaw Man. So if that says anything to you, that means that this is probably just as wacky or crazy as Chainsaw Man is. I have only read, I think, the first chapter of Fire Punch, but I remember I was very interested in the setting because it's a very, very set setting, which may not exactly make a lot of sense as I say it, but if you read the first chapter, you know what I mean. I do eventually want to go through and read all of Fire Punch one day. I think I'm gonna do it sooner than later, but no, yeah, Fire Punch. Very interesting, and I look very much so forward to going through this. What's next? Oh, fuck. Now, this next series is very infamous for being just the most depressing piece of literature ever stumbled upon, and that is Goodnight Punpun. I have been told and heard several times on the internet that if you are not in the right mindset, do not read Punpun, because this series supposedly is just an absolute monster. As you can see, I have a bookmarker here showing where I have left off. I have not finished this volume. I don't know if I'm gonna restart the volume or if I'm just gonna pick up from where I left off. I'll probably skim through it and see if I need to or not. But from what I've read here, nothing crazy has happened yet. But that's also what I've heard, is that from the first volume, it's tame in comparison to everything that happens later. But I am genuinely very interested to see what happens in Goodnight Punpun. Next one we got here is Hell's Paradise, also known as Jigokuraku. And this is done by Yuji Kaku. This was part of what the internet was calling the Dark Trio, along with Jujutsu Kaisen and Chainsaw Man. And I picked it up. I still haven't read through it. I know that the anime, or at least the first season, is out for it. Haven't heard anything about it, and I haven't watched it. No, I watched it the first episode, but that was about it. The art looks pretty damn good, honestly. I'm genuinely very intrigued by the art, and I am very interested to pick it up one day and see what it has in store. Next up is I think it's the second to last series that we actually have to look through and pick a favorite volume cover with. This is Record of Ragnarok. Now, I remember reading Record of Ragnarok around my junior year of high school. That was relatively around the time when it had started, and let me tell you, reading through this in its early stages as it was coming out was the most insane thing ever. Record of Ragnarok was slowly but surely picking up so much momentum and just on site to becoming the best series of the year, one of the best series of the year, and it was doing really good, and then the anime dropped, and then it just did not deliver on the hype that it needed. I enjoyed it personally. I definitely can see why a lot of people wouldn't have, but overall I enjoyed it. And for my favorite volume cover, it has to be Adam versus Zeus. From where I read up to, which I believe was when Nikola Tesla was introduced, this is still by far, hands down, my favorite fight in all of Record of Ragnarok. I just imagine how confused people must sound when I say Nikola Tesla in a goddamn manga called Record of Ragnarok. I have only the first 4 volumes. I think I'm gonna stop collecting at 5, just because that's a nice even, or actually it's an odd number, but it just looks nice. If you guys are into crazy, just fucking balls off the walls battles, then I genuinely do recommend Record of Ragnarok. Alrighty, up next is a little bit of a funny one. We have the first volume of Rent a Girlfriend. Now, I remember when the anime had first come out, that opening was taking the internet by storm. I can even hear it now as it's slowly creeping in, getting louder and louder, slowly overtaking everything that I'm saying, and eventually cease to exist as I continue to speak. But I remember I watched through the first season of Rent a Girlfriend, and I honestly, it was like a guilty pleasure. I really enjoyed what I had seen. And I do need to watch the 2nd and 3rd season because I generally do want to keep up with it, continue feeding that little taste, that nourishment that I need. Not really much other to say about Rent a Girlfriend. Nice series, nothing crazy, but yeah, I'd say give it a shot if you're interested. Up next, we have a little series called Shonen Note. Now, I only read through this first volume, and I was interested to pick it up because I read the title of it, and I was like, Shonen Note, what the hell is that? And then I read the back and saw that it was about a boy who just basically, to put it in simpler terms, loves the fuck out of singing. And I read the first volume and I found it very, very interesting. Shonen Note, not bad, pretty cute. Don't know if I'll continue reading it. If I should, if you're Shonen Note fans here, drop a comment down below. Should I continue reading Shonen Note? Does it get really good? Up next, we have actually a manhwa, I believe. If it's not a manhwa, then I greatly apologize. But we have Solo Leveling, and this thing is pretty damn heavy, and for good reason, because if I go ahead and open this thing up, you're gonna see that these are all colored pages. These are not your typical pieces of paper. I had heard of Solo Leveling through a couple of anime and manga YouTubers that I watch, primarily Rogers based, but I had heard of Solo Leveling and I just seen a lot of hype surrounding it. So I picked up the first volume, still haven't read it, but that's besides the point. I'll get to it one day. It looks pretty good from what I've seen. Up next, we have Tokyo Ghoul. Now, you may have seen this one right over here being held up by a little statue. And if you're wondering what that is, that's Sonic. Sonic's been holding the first Tokyo Ghoul volume. And if you're wondering as to why it's been being held this whole time, I have a very good explanation. For the past week or so, I've been reading Tokyo Ghoul for the very first time on my Twitch. I've been going through and I've been reading it. This is my first time ever seeing or going through the Tokyo Ghoul series as a whole. We just got to chapter 100, and so far, pretty good. Can't lie. As for my favorite volume cover, the first 2 are really good, but I think the 7th one is easily my favorite. It's just so good. And that point in the story as well, I think that volume cover perfectly shows and represents everything that happens within that section of the story. Let's move on to the next series, Tokyo Revengers. So everything just fell over, just like how this series ending did. Anyways, Tokyo Revengers is honestly, up until the ending, a pretty fucking good series. I loved the first season of Tokyo Revengers so much that I kind of immediately went on to read the manga, and I just kept reading and reading and reading, and eventually got caught up and watched as it slowly fell into a dark abyss, no pun intended, with that ending, and just yikes. But as I've stated before, everything beforehand the ending is very, very well done. I genuinely love this cast so much. And as for my favorite volume, I think it's gonna have to be this volume right here, volumes 7 through 8, with this character Baji on the cover. If you know Tokyo Revengers, then you know what happens during this portion of the story and why this character is on this cover. This part of the story was just an absolute emotional roller coaster. A lot of the volumes later on were just so beautiful. I don't remember them off the top of my head, but here are some of my other favorite ones just from later on in the series. But yeah, Tokyo Revengers, genuinely recommend it. Amazing cast of characters. Just be ready for a bad ending. Up next, we have Akira Toriyama's Manga Theater. This is similar to Hiromashima's Playground. It's just a giant collection of one-shots that the author, Akira Toriyama, has made before in the past, before Dragon Ball, all that good kind of stuff. I haven't read through all of them. I've read through some of them. It's very interesting to see what the authors had in mind or what they were doing before their main series kind of took off into popularity. Following in the pursuit of Akira Toriyama, we have the first Viz-Big of not just Dragon Ball, but also Dragon Ball Z. I feel like there's not much to say about Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. They're just classics. You can't beat the classics. This is the father of shonen manga nowadays. When this was being made, there was no way of knowing that this would be one of, if not the most infamous and popular anime and manga series of all time. Up next, we have something pretty bizarre. We have JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Now, these are two very random volumes in a way, because it's the first volume of part 2 and the first volume of part 4. I at least want to get the first volume for every part of JoJo's as they slowly but surely come out in English. Part 6 is currently coming out. A lot of the early parts, or parts 1 through 3, had sort of this styled cover where it's just kind of redrawings of the characters that were relevant throughout the story. It wasn't until part 4 where they started to have fun with the covers and actually implement the actual volumes that you would get if you were getting the Japanese volumes. And I really wish that they did this from the start, because I think that would be really cool to see the first ever volume of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure on the first English printed volume of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And last but not least, we have Soul Eater. I just got done reading through all of these Soul Eater manga, and let me tell you, that is a goddamn treat. Soul Eater had been on my radar for a very long time, and it was only a matter of time before I eventually got to delving into Soul Eater, whether it be through the anime or through the manga. And ultimately, I decided to read through the manga, because if you take a look at the very first volume of Soul Eater and compare it to the very last one, it is a drastic change in art style, and that was what I was very interested in seeing. I wanted to see this art style progress from this very amateur-like art style to this very polished and nice looking art style. Atsushi Okubo found their style, and it was such a pleasure reading through the series, not only just because of the art, but the series itself is very good. If you haven't gone through Soul Eater, I genuinely recommend it. Whether it be through the anime or through the manga, I genuinely recommend either or. But with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that completes the shelved section of my manga collection. I'm going to real quickly grab the manga and stuff that is up in this cabinet that I mentioned earlier. So give me just 1 second and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm deciding to go about this and grab the two different sections of it all. So first and foremost, we have Berserk. Now, I have decided that I'm only going to collect the deluxe edition volumes for Berserk, just because these things are freaking ginormous, but they're 100% worth it. These are just absolutely beautiful, amazing covers for such a legendary and influential series such as Berserk. And fun fact is that when the news came that the author of Berserk, Kentaro Miura, had passed away, rest in peace, I decided that I was going to go out that day and grab the first deluxe edition volume of Berserk and start my Berserk journey. I'm currently on volume 4 of the deluxe edition, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm going in blind. The Golden Age has so far been really damn good, and I'm very much so looking forward to see how this arc wraps up. It's a very, very long arc, but it is very, very much so worth it. And I genuinely cannot wait to get volume 5 of the deluxe editions. Go read Peak Fiction. Okay, so everything from this point on, there's only one actual manga here, and that is going to be the one that I will get to when we get to it. Anyway, starting off, we have an American Shonen Jump magazine. I remember seeing this in the stores, and I just absolutely lost it when I saw this, because I was like, this was the first ever one that I had seen in person and in public. I'm sure you can find a bunch of these, but seeing how they went ahead and took a Japanese magazine and basically just put it in English is so very interesting. I love that this is in my collection, and it was very interesting going through and seeing what manga they had, or more so, what parts of the series they were at with these certain issues. This is, or it says April 2008, and it has a big number 4 right here. So I'm assuming this was the 4th issue of that year. I'm not exactly sure how they went ahead and did it in America. I have a better idea of how they do it in Japan, which, speaking of, we have a Japanese weekly Shonen Jump. Me and my cousin, we went to a store that had just opened up, and they were selling these bad boys, and I absolutely had to grab one. This is the coolest thing ever. To find one of these in like a comic book / manga store, sure, I can get that. It's gonna be a rare one, but it's not impossible. To see one of these in a store? I never thought I'd see the day. Moving on, we have the only manga here, and it is Rohan at the Louvre. This is a beautiful piece of hardcover bookery, or literature, if you would like to call it that. This is obviously from the same author of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Hirohiko Araki. I've read through this, and it was very, very interesting. It's also really nice to see because all of these pages are actually colored in. They're selectively colored in. They're not like fully colored in like you would see with some art books. And while we're on the topic of JoJo's and Hirohiko Araki, right here we have Manga in Theory and Practice. This is a book written by the author of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I have sat down and read through this book, and it was genuinely so insightful and interesting to see how the author of one of the most bizarre series of all time ends up making his stories, and how he went about creating his characters, stories, and his process of getting published within magazines. Definitely a very good read, especially if you are an aspiring manga artist, because this may very well help you get into that scene. Up next, we have art books, and the first one we're going to be taking a look at is Bleach's All Color But the Black. This is a very nice and my first ever art book that I'd ever gotten. This was the one that sparked my love for art books. This, I believe, goes from the start of Bleach all the way to the end of the Soul Society arc. Very, very nice, very awesome art book. I genuinely would love to collect a lot more art books. And the next one we have is of the other member of the Big Three. We have a Uzumaki Naruto art book. This one is an absolute treat to look through, but there are so many amazing illustrations throughout this that all come from the actual pages from the volumes of Naruto. I love Kishimoto's art. It got so dynamic the further on it went, especially with some of the color spreads and all that stuff. But with that being said, this is the art of Pokemon Adventures. I really hate paper sleeves for anything, whether it be a book or manga. I just can't stand them. For some reason, it's such a weird thing, but I just can't stand it. But this is such a nice art book. This goes through, so this goes up to primarily the black and white story. You get to see a lot of cool things, like the volume covers just kind of illustrated on their own with nothing covering them, no titles, no who was made by or anything like that. And it's very, very nice. You even get to see them sort of separated so you can dissect it all, get a good look at it, and it's very, very nice. If you're a fan of Pokemon Adventures, I genuinely do recommend checking this out. Very, very cool. And it also comes with a little mini poster inside. Contrary to what I just said about, manga, paper covers, I hate them. This is the one exception. This is a JoJo's art book. It is called JoJo's 6252. I believe that number is the amount of pages that had currently existed between all of the JoJo's manga at the current point in time in which this was made. This goes up to part 4. Not all of it, I'll add to that, but it goes up to a decent part of part 4, and you get to see a bunch of art and stuff like that. And it even goes into, I don't know if it's like interviews or whatever the hell, but oh no, it's just a bunch of other insightful things for JoJo's, like the stand profiles, the map in which they travel around, primarily for part 3, so on and so forth. Key concepts, characters, and a bunch of other cool things like that. And the very last thing for this video. Hi, this is Future Egan Media here. I went out today and purchased these 4 manga, so up the count from whatever it was at to +4, and now this One Piece art book is the last thing. Okay, thank you. Is the One Piece Color Walk Compendium. This one goes to Water 7 all the way to the Paramount War. Desperately need to get the rest of these because I love looking at Oda's art so damn much. I genuinely do gotta get the rest of them just so that, you know, I can see that art progression overall in all of them, and then read the little interviews or tidbits from Ichiro Oda himself, just so that, you know, I can just get a little bit more insight as to his mind and, you know, how he works and all that good stuff. That seems to be the end of my gigantic manga collection. There should be a count somewhere here on how much manga or books overall I have in my collection. I'll put it up maybe like right here. It'll be counting up as we go on. Well, that being said, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to be the end of this video. If you all have enjoyed, please be sure to go ahead and drop a like down below. It's always greatly appreciated. Please share this around to anybody who might like this kind of stuff. And comment down below, what is your favorite manga and which one out of my collection was your favorite to see? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Egan Media, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Take it easy.